Okay, so this is Daily Sketch 17. Okay, we've got this hand that's reaching out at us.
Christian, please come to the office. You're getting checked out. Christian, please
when
come
you
to the
draw
office.
something that's coming towards you, you've really got to pay attention to angles and then size. You really want to exaggerate what's closer to you, what's farther away. What's closest definitely are the fingertips. So I'm going to try and get just the angle of the palm of the hand first and then the wrist going away from me. So I'm going to use my pencil and look at the exact angle. And I think that might be too sharp. Let me double check. No, see, I would have drawn it not as sharp, so you've got to really pay attention to that. Then I want, actually, I had my page tilted. It is a little more like this. Okay, and then I want you to look at where the wrist, and that's almost flat, comes and joins in with the palm, and then this other wrist, we'll draw the bottom of the wrist once we figure out the shape. So the palm shape, I'm just going to square this up. We've got a thumb that comes this way, and I'm really paying attention to negative space as I'm kind of putting these digits in. And before I continue any more of the digits, I really want to decide where the bottom of the palm is going to be. Get these angles right. When the palm comes down, this might be a little too wide. I want to bring that in just a little bit. And make sure this curve at the bottom is close enough. Okay, now I'm looking at the negative space here. This finger kind of comes on an angle. There's a lot of angles, and these angles will help you if you use your pencil to see if you're getting these angles correct. So it's all about angles and just negative space. And that's why I like this sketch at this time, because it's a good intro to negative space. If you don't know what negative space is, it's just that dead space in between your positive space, which is the main thing that you're drawing. Okay, this is very rough, and I'm sure I'm going to have to make adjustments, but notice this space right here, I've gotten too wide. So I need to figure that out, make sure this angle, and see how I've wonked it that way. That's incorrect. It actually just comes out here. So I'm a lot flatter than I drew it. So I'm really, really paying attention to angles. Not what I think it should look like, but what I'm actually seeing. And sometimes that's your biggest problem when you're working with proportion, is that you're drawing what you think it should look like instead of looking at what it actually looks like. Now I'm going to look at this wrist again, because I've maybe put the wrist too high up. So I'm going to drop this down, and then the bottom of the wrist actually comes out over here, and it's going to go back, and I might have to adjust that again. Oops. And now I can see this finger, even still, that negative space, this comes really out this way. And if I try and force that finger where I originally drew it, I'm going to battle that the whole time I'm drawing. So don't be afraid to change right now while you're in these easy shape phase, as opposed to later. Now, you do also want to pay attention to how long the fingers are, because if you do them too short, it's going to mess up your proportion. If you do it too long, it's going to mess up your proportion. Okay? So this one is, the middle finger comes out definitely the farthest. It's always your tallest finger. Okay, so I want to make sure it's not back farther than this ring finger. And then this pointer finger, I'm going to really try and get this thumb in right here real quick, so that I can start moving ahead. I think I've drawn that too big. Let's fix that. See how wide that palm is? I was trying to force it in a space it didn't belong. Okay, I think that seems a little more accurate. And then this wrist goes back, and they just kind of ended it back here. Okay, so that's pretty close. Okay, now I'm going to go real quick, clean up these lines so that I can really look at it and see how close I am to these proportions. This seems a little long here, so I really want to pay attention to, okay, this bump comes up, and then this, it curves, and it really drops farther down than what I've done here. And this part right here, I don't know about that part. We're going to have to address that. Okay, maybe later. Okay, so I think I'm looking at this part of the palm. Does this seem close? I've got some pulled skin right there I need to include. This comes down a little straighter instead of stretching. Okay, and I think this shape right here is closer. So what I'm going to do is now look at the pads of the fingers. And so they kind of come in at the top, and then there's a little bit of that crease line happening here. And this is the time now that my proportion, I feel comfortable, that you go in and you add these little details of crease lines, and it'll help things seem more proportionate. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the pointer finger and look at this pad. And same with the middle finger now, and really pay attention to any in between the fingers, any pulled skin. Come up to the pad. Now we're looking at, on this ring finger, it's more the side instead of right on top like we have these fingers. And notice there's slight bumps instead of perfect ovals, and that makes it look more like a believable finger when you add those little curves to the detail. Okay, back to the ring finger. So I've got this side view. You can almost see the fingernail. Just have this gesture of it, and then it curves in. See that fatty part of the finger.
Christian Plums, come to the office. Christian, come to the office.
Okay, and then you can go back and add any line work you want with this wrist. And I'm not going to fake anything, so I'm going to stop it where they did. You can add some shadows, but I think that pretty much covers, you know, and I can go back through and really address, like, is that angle right from there to there? Is this angle right? If I have it too sharp, I might need to bring a finger out or push a finger back. I'm not loving the wrist. I feel like this is it looks a little thick, so I'm going to change this to come up off this area a little bit more. Okay, easy enough, right?